And let's get it. All right, my waist spinning, bro? All right. As long as my waist spinning, we all good. We're going to solve this thing. All right, peace, family. It's Jay Morrison coming to you live from the Legacy Center in Atlanta, Georgia, giving you a new series called The Solution. It's actually a continuation from a series I've done several years ago when I first moved from New Jersey here to Atlanta, Georgia, with a mission to change the culture, to flip the culture, and to provide solutions for our community. So let's hop into one of the hottest topics, one of the most relevant topics, one of the most unsolved topics in the black community, and that is black on black crime, black on black gun violence, black on black gang violence. And let's talk about solutions for our community and really solutions for humanity. So first and foremost, black on black crime exists no greater than white on white crime, than Asian on Asian crime, I guess that would be yellow, or any other crime that you want to exist, which happens in proximity to your social structure, right? So we say black on black crime as if it's this thing in a bubble, as if there's not white on white rape. So the same way that black men are killing each other, the same way white men are raping white women. It exists the same in every cultural structure based on your proximity. Those you live around, those you eat around, those that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, and those within your tribe. That's how the world is set up, right? So it's the same. Jewish on Jewish crime, black on black crime, European on European, Russian on Russian. It's all the same based on who we live around. So I deal with the black on black issue because of two reasons. One, because I am a black man, and this is my race, if you can't tell, it's my skin color. I'm an African man in America. I'm part of the African diaspora. I'm part of God's original people, which were African people that started with Adam in Eden, AKA Cush, AKA Ethiopia. That's who I am. Second reason, because I'm a man of God, M-O-G. And as a man of God, it's my duty to serve those least amongst us, despite my race and my tribe. So, if the white race or the Asian race were the most oppressed, the most traumatized, Jim Crowed, mass incarcerated, COINTELPRO'd, and everything else, and black people were number one, I'd be an advocate for the repair and justice of the white race, because it's my job to serve those least amongst us. Period. I believe in three critical principles that we're going to talk about during this episode. There's three ways that we raise the bar for humanity. There's three ways that we raise and repair the evolution and the culture and the behaviors of Africans in America, Africans abroad, Africans throughout the diaspora, black people, AKA. Before I get into those three ways, I also want to talk about, in black culture, which has many, many names, let's not even argue over all of our aliases. Moors, Hebrew Israelites, Nation of Islam, Pan-African, Afro-American, whatever. I want to talk about this issue of crime and violence. And in these issues of crime and violence, I want to give you from a perspective of not just an intellectual guy, not just a good speaker or charismatic influencer. I'm using my hand quotes for those listening on audio. But I want to give it to you from someone who caught his first gun charge in 1998 in New York, a legal gun charge. From someone that caught a second gun charge in the year 2000 in Maryland. Someone that's participated in gang violence and black on black violence. In my 10 years in the streets, I wasn't a violent dude. I wasn't a gangster. But you can't be in the streets protecting your block, protecting your territory, defending your boys. I've got into more fights, gun and gang activity, just standing up for or holding down my tribe, my boys. That's why proximity creates these crimes. If my homeboy is a black man, but he like to rob people, I don't rob people. Why you do that? I literally had a best friend who was a robber. Like, he literally got a thrill out of putting a mask on and putting a gun on somebody and taking what they got. My cousin was like that. That's what they did. My best friend and my cousin in the streets, my real cousin, blood cousin, but he was in the streets too, we all sold drugs together. But them two robbed together. They come back and they laugh about their robberies, and I'm like, yo, y'all crazy. And they bust down what they did. That was their thing. So, but my perspective I want to give you today isn't just from a perspective of intelligentsia or outside in. No, I'm talking about I be in the mix, and I've been in the mix. That's why I've been able to go to 65 corner classes in 34 cities. It's why I could set up on Murder Mac and Bewick in East Detroit. It's why I could set up on Madison and Pulaski in Chicago. It's why I could set up on outside the projects in Chicago, or North New Jersey, South Tiffin, Springfield. It's why I'm able to go to these environments, because I come from these environments. I survive these environments. I know what goes on in the hood. I know what goes on in our community. I've been in prison for 2.5 years. My cellmate was a double lifer with 2 homicides. My cellmate killed 2 people. And for 8 months straight, I was with him 18 hours a day, talking, building, getting his stories, his life stories. Me and my other homeboys who done caught bodies and all the street activity. So I get the culture. I'm from the culture. I just evolved past the culture based on 3 principles that helped change my life. And we're going to talk about the solution for this proximity crime, black on black crime. And I said it in an Instagram video. Those on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, Mr. J. Morrison, for more day-to-day content. But here on this platform, what I want to say is, this goes for all humanity, but there is no way that black people will ever repair themselves. And trust me, I am a dual accountability person. I think it is flawed for black people or Africans in America to only blame the government, to only blame corporations, to only blame our former slave masters and their children. I think that's completely flawed. But I also think it's completely flawed for another class of black people or Africans in America to only blame black people, to only blame rap music, to only blame gangbangers, to only blame those least amongst us, to only blame the hood, to only blame boys in the hood and media and Scarface and Juice and Nino Brown and everything else, and just say it's our fault. I was one of those. I used to say it was our fault for the situation that we're in. And then I used to say, oh, it's their fault for the situation we're in. And then through wisdom, I realized there's 2 accountabilities. I wrote about it in my book, The Solution. I offer this book not as a sales pitch, not as a funnel, but for anyone that wants to read a thoughtful take on how Africans in America achieve unity, justice, and repair. You can download my ebook for free at mrjmorrison.com. In my literature and in my life, the vision God gave me, I'm being real with y'all. Like, it's not my own wisdom and download. I got to download. What the Most High showed me, what our Father showed me was this. And it's really common sense almost. The government and corporations who've exploited us, white racist, white supremacist, even European or white benefactors of our oppression, they owe us. Africans in America, Africans throughout the diaspora, for the trauma, for the vestiges of slavery, the vestiges of Jim Crow, peonage, sharecropping, black codes, slave codes, COINTELPRO, mass incarceration, school to prison pipeline, the Tuskegee experiment, Black Wall Street bombing, the first massacre and bombing here in American soil. They owe us. Japanese Americans got reparations for just being 2 years, and not to minimize their oppression, please. Because my heart goes out for them as well because of these principles I'm going to share with you. Why I can see and I can feel and have compassion and empathy for Japanese Americans that had 2 years in internment camps here in America during World War II. But they got reparations. I don't want to minimize their oppression, but it was not 450 years of enslavement, of abuse, of breaking up families, making it illegal to read, illegal to own land, illegal to own businesses. Vagrancy laws that made it illegal for you not to have a home after enslavement. when they freed the slaves, in hand quotes, in the 13th Amendment, except they commit a crime? Well, guess what happened? They created crimes that Negroes, coloreds, black folks could not be homeless, or they get locked up and then leased out through the convict leasing system back to plantations. So how do you let a man enforce a man and woman and family off of a plantation, which was their home, under chattel enslavement, but then say it's illegal for you not to have a home, or we lock you back up and lease you back to the system? This was their play. So what I'm saying is, reparations has got an ugly name and stigma, but the root word is repair. They owe us repair aid, and restitution. What's called redress is making whole, or reconciliation. All is ours. Reconciliation, redress, restitution, repair aid, reparation. It's making someone whole for an offense you committed against someone. That's human. And it fits within the three principles I'm going to share with us today on how we solve black on black murder and crime. Just follow me, y'all, for 1 second. Just follow me. It's sensible, it's practical, it's logical, and it's truth. It's truth to power. I speak truth to power. So, they owe us repair. But family, with the same passion, we owe ourselves repair. We owe ourselves to not wait on them to do for us what God gave us the ability and gifts to do for us. The same enthusiasm that we have for them owing us 40 acres and a mule, a check, repair, redress, reconciliation, reparation, repair, all that is the same thing that we deserve ourselves to give ourselves. This is how we solve our problem. We wake up and understand that it's on two fronts. Some problems isn't an either or. It's an and. It's an addition to. It's an all of it. It's called comprehensive problem solving. Comprehensive thinking. Stop being so linear and so emotional in our approaches. So, black on black violence, black on black crime. These vestiges of our trauma. It starts with this. 3 principles. First principle, love God with all of your heart. First principle, before you find a way to disagree, just listen to the other 2 principles, because part of what you're disagreeing is part of the problem. I don't care about your religion. I'm talking about relationship. Call him the universe. Call him the source. Call him the Most High. Call him the God of Israel. Call him Allah. Call him Jehovah. Call him Jah. But we have to be a people that realize there's a higher power than us, that we have a creator. I have my own truth in that, which I believe to be the truth, but I won't argue with you over that truth. I'll let you evolve, because I wasn't always where I'm at today. But I know what I know, because I know how God speaks to me, and I watch him reveal and manifest things that make it real in my real life. But I don't need to argue with you about that, because I would have argued with myself 5 years ago. Except for the fact I always believe there's a higher power greater than me. We love God with all of our hearts, so that we are people that understand that there is a conscious, there is an ecosystem, there is consequences, we have to be submissive. There is a greater than, because if you don't believe there is a greater than and you are the highest being that there is, that creates a problem. You have nothing and no one to submit to. And everything in the earth and our ecosystem submits to something. There is no part of the food chain that submits to nothing. Everything submits to something. Second principle, love yourself. We talk about black on black violence, gang violence, black on black murder, black on black gun violence. When you begin to love yourself, this is what got me off the streets of South 10th and Springfield in Newark, New Jersey after 10 years in a dope game. Knee deep in it. I transported drugs, learned to cook crack at 17, learned to bag up dope, learned how to compress coke, had stash boxes, had guns, had all of it. I did the whole streets. Not a little bit, a lot of it. And what I've learned and what got me out of there was literally a love for myself, because I saw I was ready to crash and burn. If a gang member, if a street dude, if a black man loves himself, he is less quick to put himself, forget you loving you right now, he's less quick to put himself in jeopardy because he cares about himself. I care so much about myself, I'm not going to let you trick me out of my life. I care so much about myself, I'm not going to let you get me 7 years in prison. Prison time is slow, y'all. I promise you. When you get around to that second birthday, you like, what? Second Christmas? Second New Year? You like, what? I just did 2.5 years. My boy just came home from 9 after serving 10 after serving 7. My other king, he coming home, he just gave 5.5 years back, still got 2 more years and already got 10 in. Yo, them years go by slow. And when you love yourself, at some point you start saying, man, they can have that. I'm not gonna let an argument or stepping on my toe or some words on Instagram put me in jeopardy of my life. Are you crazy? So I gotta eat whack food? So I gotta be worrying about somebody stabbing me up a chow line? So I gotta be showering with men and all these women out here? Pfft, not my life. For me, I looked at 25 years old as a 3-time felon, and I could see where I'd be when I'm 30. I could be dead or in jail. I love myself too much to allow that to be my outcome. I've seen queens like my sister Keisha Green, the legless diva, and other queens who are amputees, no arms, walk around with their head high, no arms from the shoulders on, decked, dressed, head wrap on, shades on, hop in their car and drive off with no arms. Because they love themselves. I refuse to hold my head down and wallow in my circumstance because I love myself. Our community, if we love ourselves, will refuse to just wallow in degradation. Wallow in being niggas and bitches and ratchet and savage and demon. We would refuse if we loved ourselves. If you loved yourself, love is kind. You be kind to yourself. Love is patient. You be patient with yourself. Love is long-suffering. You suffer with yourself. Love is not quick to wrath. You won't wrath or have anger or hurt towards yourself. Love is not envious. These are principles of loving yourself. If you loved yourself, you will love that which made you, God and your parents. The ones whose DNA made you. You wouldn't even have life without them, despite how screwed up you might think they were or they actually were. You still don't even have breath or life to judge them if they didn't make you. How can we hate the thing in which made us? Because we're disappointed by their actions post-making us? But shoot, we got a shot that some of them sperm never got. You got brothers and sisters that didn't make it. How could you hate God and be mad at God that he chose you to be here and have this life and this opportunity to make something out of your whack circumstance you were born into? At least you got a shot. If you're blind and you can't see me, at least you could hear me. If you're deaf and you can't hear me, at least you could see me and read the subtitles. If you're in prison watching this, at least you still got life. Air to breathe. Someone just died yesterday. We saw Takeoff, rest in power, just lose his life. Millionaire, rapper, entertainer, all the clout, all the anthems and all that. The brother can't live anymore in the physical. Pop Smoke can't live anymore in the physical. Nipsey Hussle can't live anymore in the physical. Fam, no matter how bad your situation is, there still should be enough ounces of self-love to motivate you to get out of the situation because you still got a situation. So self-love is a fundamental principle to how we stop black on black murder, black on black crime, black on black violence. Remember, it's not just black, because there's white on white crime, there's white on white rape, there's white on white murder, there's Asian on Asian. It's just proximity in your social class. But then we got the third principle. This brings it home, family. It's not a gang sign, by the way, but it brings it home. Third principle. We talked about loving God with all your heart. Love thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love your brother and sister. Love your neighbor like you love you. That's why you gotta love you. Because if I hate me, if I'm angry with me, if I'm not kind to me, if I'm not patient with me, I can't be patient with you. I won't be kind to you. I won't love you. And all that is vestiges of our trauma. I've been through abuse. I grew up with abuse. I went to school with whelps all on me bleeding. They had to call home and call the DIFUS folks. They had to call the county. I've been through it. I've seen my mom abused. Black eyes, bloody lips, knocked down, spit on. I know what's up out here. But none of that precludes us from loving ourselves, still honoring God, but then through loving ourselves, loving our neighbors like ourselves. Bro, I'm not going to do you wrong because I'm not going to do me wrong, and I don't want you to do me wrong. Yeah, you disrespected me, but I'm not going to do to you what I wouldn't want you to do to me. But you shouldn't even disrespect me because you wouldn't want me to disrespect you. Every single murder we could think about that's ever happened in our community could have been solved with a brother or a sister loving their neighbor how they love themselves, if they had the proper level of self-love. Period. It's the solution. It could be an argument over a dice game. Bruh, I'm not going to pull out my gun on you because I want you to pull out your gun on me. I'm not going to call you no bitch because I don't want you to call me no bitch. And I'm using language that's more vulgar. We can bleep this out, whatever the case is, but I want to be direct and frank and solve real problems and not get caught up over words. This goes for every single part of our community, our culture, humanity. A racist doesn't look at you as a neighbor and a brother. They treat you differently than they would treat themselves. That's the problem. They're not following the fundamental law. Bro, I'm not going to holler at your girl because I don't want you to holler at my girl. I'm not going to disrespect your wife because I don't want to disrespect your wife. I'm not going to steal from you because I don't want you to steal from me. This goes for all aspects of life. And mind you, we're human. We will mess up. But guess what? I'll give you grace because when I mess up, I want you to give me grace. I'll be patient with you because I want you to be patient with me. I got trauma too. I'm trying to figure this thing out. I won't make a negative comment on your page because I don't want you to make a negative troll-like comment on my page. Treat your neighbor how you want to be treated, fam. It's simple. It's fundamentals. This is like elementary school stuff. Or Sunday school, at least. It's basics. If you're treating someone poorly, different than how you want to be treated, it shows your level of self-love. Because if I love myself enough, I don't even want to be negative towards you. Because you might be negative towards me, and I don't want that because I love myself. Don't you get it? If I'm loving myself and I'm loving God, I'm operating at a different frequency that just doesn't make me say, like, I'm not going to troll somebody or just make up whole videos about somebody or be just negative and bad towards somebody because I wouldn't want somebody to do that towards me. This is mad easy. As grown people, we should be able to follow these principles. But when you see yourself as less than, then you can see your brother as less than. And part of the reason why you see yourself as less than, because you see the father and your relationship to the father as less than. If you saw yourself as a child of the Most High God, made in his image, you might think more highly of yourself. Therefore, think more highly of your brother and sister. Therefore, love them differently and treat them differently. These fundamental principles. Yes, we can get into rap music and media. I get it. I was talking to my brother last night, Shabazz the OG, we were talking about it. I think it was him. And we were saying, no, my man Jay Jordan, my brother Jay Jordan. We were saying, yo, when we grew up, everybody wanted to be old dog in Menace to Society. Everybody wanted to be old dog. Everybody wanted to be Nino Brown. Everybody wanted to be gangster, in my hood anyway. We all want to be gangster. So I get the part that media and music play into this. The arts. That's another debate or conversation to be had. And the arts become impressionable on us, especially in our youth. But there's an opportunity for us in our households to instill these three core principles that can override any influences from the arts. If you grow up watching a gangster like O-Dog, watching Nino Brown, watching Scarface, watching Bronx Tales, and I want to be a gangster. My dad was a gangster. My grandfather was a kingpin in real life. So I want to aspire to be that, but we know I also was taught at the same time, treat people how you want to be treated. It's a fundamental. It balanced me out. It's why in the streets, I could justify some of my selling drugs as entrepreneurship, but I didn't get into robbing, I didn't get into stealing, I didn't get into certain things. And then it was a time in my life where I did, and my spirit was dark, and I was a totally different kind of person. So I did walk away from those principles. I treated women poorly, horribly. I did not treat women for many years of my life how I want them to treat me, or treat my daughter, or treat my mother, or treat a woman I love. I didn't do that. I was flawed. I ain't talking about perfect, but I was in my flaw, in flaws with an S. My foundation, my fundamentals were strong enough. And again, my Father, our Father, the Heavenly Father had enough grace and mercy and patience and long suffering and love on me to allow me to come back around enough to love and honor Him and to love myself to a point that I could be 42 years old and know how to love my brother and my sister and respect them differently than I did in my mid-20s. That's called grace. So when you experience the grace of the Father, you easily have grace on yourself. When you have grace on yourself, you can then have grace on your brother and sister. I'm talking about fundamental principles and values that we all can adopt to be a better version of ourselves and repair ourselves as we fight for the restitution, the redress, the reparation, the repair aid, the reconciliation of what those who traumatized us and caused much of this, till they cut the check, till they put the effort in, till they do their part in our repair. But we can't wait on them, not at this rate. 40% of the murders that happen in America are black on black murders, although we make up less than 15% of the population. It's all about how we see each other. Before I can see you right, I gotta see me right. If I don't see no worth in myself, I'm not gonna see no worth in you. I'm willing to throw my life away. I've been in situations, and I'll never name names, but I've been in situations where folks was willing to kill somebody for $3,000. $3,000 for a whole life. Less than a Rolex. A Submariner at that. Less than some shirts and shoes. Somebody's willing to take a whole life, a whole future, a whole legacy, a whole lineage, a whole DNA. And it shows the value that we have and risk life in prison for it. You see the duality of that? I would take a life and don't see the value there, but I'd risk my life to take that life for $3,000. Something I can walk into the bank and get a credit card for. If I knew how to boost my credit score through a secure credit card and secure loan in self.com. Come on, fam. This is the opportunity we have to truly repair ourselves. But the onus is on us. It's not theoretical. It starts with a culture shift, a culture change. We got to treat each other better. Otherwise, we're going to keep treating each other worse. It's compound interest, man, of a lack of righteousness. When you brag about being savage and you brag about being ratchet and you brag about being demon, you get what you sowed. We are reaping what we're sowing. We are sowing savage energy. And we're reaping savage results. If we reap or we sow righteous energy, we're going to reap a righteous harvest. You can't get around that. We watched the Jewish community cost Kanye $2 billion in revenue in one day. How can they unite? How does the Jewish community unite? I think reports of just 13 million of them in the world, of this pocket of Europeans and descendants. Because they unite around common principles and then take action together around those principles. I understand that all black people won't unite. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Some of y'all just ain't it. You like wallowing in your misery. You like wallowing in your ratchetness. You love the savage life. That's you. You're not part of my tribe. All of us are not cut from the same cloth. We are not part of the same tribe. We just have the same level of melanin. That's it. It's the only commonality. Just like all Europeans will never unite. But we can unite those of us who agree to 3 common principles, universal principles. We can unite and make historic change. Because you ain't going to treat me poorly, because you know I ain't going to treat you poorly. And you don't think poorly of yourself. And you don't think poorly of the one that made you. Therefore, how can we be poor? We'll be rich in real life. This is the without a fundamental change in our behaviors, our language, our thoughts, our ideology, our philosophy, our spirituality, our emotions, without a fundamental internal, we are from the inside out. It's not the outside. Only we judge people on the outside, the continents, what they got on, how many chains, what they look like, how a car you drive. I sat next to a billionaire that had a sweatsuit on and some regular $40 Adidas, a billionaire. And I almost treated him differently because he didn't look like a billionaire. That's us who judge on the surface. It's God that looks at our heart. Our heart is rotting. The heart of black people in America is reflecting our former slave masters and their evil, their ignorance, and their wickedness, their savageness, their ruthlessness, the demon in them. We are living like a product of the ones that called our women bitches, the ones that called us nigga in the first place, the ones that beat us, the ones that cut our women open while they're pregnant, pulled the babies out. The ones that split our family, raped our women. We are mimicking them, their wickedness, their savageness, their demonness, their unrighteousness. And we're harvesting unrighteous fruit and unrighteous results. We gotta break the chain, break the ideology, break the philosophy, break this culture of that. It's self-degradation. It's lack of dignity, lack of pride, lack of respect, lack of self-love. Bro, you shouldn't just treat somebody just any kind of way. That's just corny, that's whack. And imagine if that were the theme of our songs, of our music, of our media, of our culture. That, bro, that shit ain't cool no more. We don't diss just to diss. You want to diss you? Then why you diss him for? We off that. We'll call women bitches. You want somebody to call your grandma a bitch? You want somebody to call your daughter a bitch? Or you want somebody to call your wife a bitch? Oh, that bitch fine. Oh, that's what you want? Oh, it's okay for you to do it though. Yo, treat people how you want to be treated. It raises your level of accountability. We don't want to be accountable. We want to run from accountability. I was like that, so I'm teaching from experience. I was like that. I was I don't give a boop type of person to the core. Like, I don't care what you said. I was full ratchet, full savage mode. Trust me, I understand. There's a freedom in that, but it's a demonic freedom. The freedom to be evil, the freedom to be demonic, the freedom to be oppressive, the freedom to be unrighteous, the freedom to do what you want, to have no laws, to be lawless. Yo, my friends used to call me lawless because I did what I wanted to do. I sped down the highways, Range Rover, 2006, 120 miles per hour, speeding drunk, gambling, $10,000 chips, hands, 17 women, literally. And you think it's fun because you're getting these fruit of all this instant gratification and all these highs that make you happy, but you have no peace. So you keep doing more ratchet things and keep buying more things to make you happy because you have no peace. You have no peace because you have no peace with God. You have no peace because you have no peace with yourself. You have no peace because you have no peace with your brother or your sister. You can have peace which is permanent, which is eternal, not fleeting and spontaneous happiness. You could be a rich, poor person in real life. You're buying all these things, you're driving all these cars, you got all this jewelry, you're doing all that because you want to make up for this gap and this emptiness and this void in you. There's a void in you because you're not filling that void with real substance. And that's why Kings is going out and they're able in Chicago and Detroit and Baltimore to just do somebody in over nothing, over an Instagram post. Because they don't even see their own worth, let alone the worth of somebody else. Imagine going to prison for 40 years for killing somebody because what they said on an Instagram post. Dummy. Like for real, tough love, dummy. Now, you might feel gangster your first 3 years, maybe your first 5, but I guarantee you years 7 and 10 roll around when your ass 10 years older than what you was. Now you want to mentor young boys about why they shouldn't be you. Bro, it's too late then. You got 40. You got life. We can end all that right now by simply treating our brothers how we want to be treated. But before that, treating ourselves how we need to be treated. King, you deserve better. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be forgiven. That's what I had to learn, is self-forgiveness. You deserve it. You deserve long suffering. You deserve all of that. With all your flaws. And that's why our relationship with our Father is so important. Because when you get into it, you see that God chooses us. He literally don't choose the perfect. He chooses the most flawed to do his biggest work. Detroit Red, AKA Malcolm X. He chooses his most flawed to do his biggest work. People will pick on you about your flaws, but it's the exact reason God picked you. Tap in. Love yourself. You deserve better. You got a whole life ahead of you. But if you throw it away, you're going to regret it, and it's going to be too late. I'm telling you. I walked the yard with the lifers. I'm telling you what they told me. And I still went out and got money and ran the streets. So this is just the foundational message of the solution from a perspective of social repair. I believe in 3 principles. a diagnosis for an antidote for a diagnosis that our forefather Malcolm X gave us. In his speech, The Ballot or the Bullet, Brother Malcolm said, we suffer from political oppression. We suffer from economic exploitation and social degradation. So the antidote, the cure to that diagnosis, if we're politically oppressed, we need political unity. How do you unify people? They got to unify around common values and common principles, greater than their differences. Different tribes, different religions, different ideologies, different households. But we got to be able to unify around common principles, common core values. And then we can attack our political spectrum. Economic exploitation. How do we end that? We're being exploited economically. Our $1.6 trillion of spending power is being exploited. We do that from and by economic participation, through economic collaboration and economic stimulation, rooted in economic education. We got to pull our dollars together. That's why the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. It's not about a real estate fund. It's not even about buying back the block. It's about massive scale group economics. How do we participate at the highest level to combat our exploitation? We need institutions, we need process, we need protocol, we need infrastructure. Then, how do we stop our social degradation, the degrading of us by others? It starts with social elevation. The elevation is going to be rooted in our self-love, picking up new habits, new culture, new actions, new standards. Do y'all agree with me on these standards? If you agree with me on these standards, can you please comment below? 3 simple standards. Love God, the higher power, with all your heart. Submit yourself, humble yourself. It keeps you even. Have ego, have pride, have all that, but not more than the one that created us and gave you life and gave you breath. Love yourself. Be patient with yourself, kind with yourself. Be long-suffering with yourself, kind. And then love thy brother, love thy neighbor as thyself. The same way you love your brother the same way, your sister the same way. And guarantee you we rise. It's impossible not to rise. Do that with your children. Don't discipline your children in a way you didn't want to be disciplined. Discipline them with love. Doesn't mean don't be stern. Doesn't mean don't spank them. But don't do it in a way in which you wouldn't want for you. Don't treat your husband or your wife in a way that you wouldn't want for you. Don't treat your staff, your employees, in a way that you wouldn't want to be treated if you were the staff. Doesn't mean they can't get yelled at, they can't get delegation, they can't get firmness. Just remember, do it in a way that you know would be good for you. If we all elevate and raise the bar, we literally are the change that we seek. We are living proof of the change we want to seek. It's bigger than financial literacy. It's bigger than Lambos. It's bigger than likes. It's bigger than blue checks. We've dumbed down the culture to be the social media culture, this financial literacy culture. We've dumbed down, and I'm here by God's grace to raise us up, to elevate us by what I know through my experiences from the streets to the suites, the corner to the corner office, and my elevation in the Spirit of God. It's my offering. It's my calling. And I'm sticking to it. I know where I stand. I can't please you, all of you. That's impossible. Just like you can't unify all black people. It's impossible. It's a impossible feat. Totally impossible. But I can raise and unify and elevate and educate and participate and love on people that can agree with these 3 principles. I can't make everybody in the comments agree with me or be nice to me. But they can look foolish by being rude to me when I wouldn't be rude to them. They're a living example of what we don't need. And that's fine. They separate themselves. Your ratchetness, your rudeness, your savageness, your demonness, it separates you from us. That's exactly what we want. We want a line in the sand. We want a spiritual line in the sand. A standards, a morality, a cultural line in the sand. What line you stand on? You going to elevate with us, or you going to wallow in lack of dignity and misery? You're going to wallow in ratchetness. We're going to raise and we're going to rise. Because that's the God in us. I know who I am because I know my Father. I know what I'm made to do. I think something. In the beginning was the Word. And I say something and my words have power. They manifest things. I see it in my whole life. I've manifested myself off the corner as a 3-time felon, dope boy, to a CEO. I'm a miracle and a manifester, and so are you. Power all on you, but we gotta raise the standard. Our standards are too low. We accept too little. We want white people and corporations and other people to treat us with a certain level of dignity that we don't offer ourselves. There's no wisdom in that. There's no logic in that. There's only emotion in that. And so anyway, as we close, thank you guys for participating. Thank you for your comments, your shares, your likes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Mr. J. Morrison. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all that, Mr. J. Morrison. This just me. This is my offering to the world. I got other gifts, and I give them to the world as well. This is my greatest calling, my greatest gift, my greatest offering. It's why God made me, to be dynamically me, comprehensively me. And I'm okay with that. I love that, actually. I embrace that. And I want you to find yours. So this is one episode of many to come of the Solution Series. And I want to continue for us to build, for us to grow and solve major problems. MLK and others, with words and actions, raise the standard of a nation and solve major problems of Jim Crow and oppression. Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, and others solve major problems. This black on black murder, black on black crime, this proximity crime, it can be solved in our lifetime. It can be solved, but we must raise the standard. And others will join. If you build it, they will come. But we gotta raise the standard. There gotta be a bar. The same way back in the 90s, you couldn't call women bitches. Remember that? Remember you weren't allowed to call women a bitch? It wasn't a standard in our society where no man could do that? We dummied down the standard. Let's raise the standard. Let's raise the bar in real life. Peace.